video, I want to talk to you about the ugly truth about working weekends in grad school. I know if you're a grad student, you might be really excited to get your research started and you have all this work you have to do in grad school, and so it's really tempting to just try and work all the time. But I'm going to talk to you today about how to hack some laws around time management to actually help you to be able to get some of your time back for your life and be more productive in your work. Before I get started, I wanted to let you know I have a free gift, which is my 30-day research jumpstart guide. So if you are just starting out in grad school, or even if you have a couple projects done, you can download the guide and it helps walk you through how to learn your field and get started on your first research project in 30 days. But in this video, we specifically want to talk about working weekends in grad school. And this is really a common thing, or at least it's portrayed as a common thing in grad school, to work weekends, and it's even sometimes romanticized in that the true scientist works weekends and is busy all the time and, makes these big discoveries late at night and on the weekends when they put in all these hours. And when I got started in grad school, I believed the same thing, and I worked almost every weekend. Or at least I planned to work almost every weekend. And what I found is that as I went through grad school and I started to create boundaries and I stopped working as many weekends, I realized that I had a lot of benefits from that. And these benefits included being able to do more things with my life and being able to feel less burnt out and more excited about my research, and also actually becoming more productive in my research. So I'm going to walk you through these 3 benefits and how they affect you if you stop working weekends or if you substitute weekend work for other work. So the first benefit is eliminating burnout. So if you're working your entire week and you're also working weekends, you have no time to take a step back from your research. You have no time to dedicate to yourself, and this can very quickly lead to burnout. You can get really frustrated with your work. You may not be as interested in your work, and all of these things can be happening because you're just simply burnt out. And this is something that working on the weekends will often do, is cause you to become burnt out. So actually giving yourself specific time that you focus on yourself or other things that you have interested in your life instead of grad school, this can include taking back all of your weekend time or some of your weekend time. This can be really important for being able to maintain your own mental and physical health in grad school and to prevent burnout. The second thing that working on the weekends does is it actually will decrease your productivity. And you may be really surprised that I say this, because isn't working more going to help you become more productive? And that's not necessarily true. So whenever you are working during the week, how many times, if you're planning on working the weekends, do you say, oh, I'm going to do that on the weekend? And then you get to the weekend and either you have other things that you're going to do or you just don't really want to do it, maybe because you're already burnt out. And so that thing then gets pushed into the next week. And then the next week you're going to say, I'm going to do that on the weekend. And then it just keeps getting pushed longer and longer because you're constantly planning your weekend time to do the work that you should be doing during the week. Additionally, I don't know if you've ever heard about Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law basically says that work will fill the time it's allowed to. So if you plan to work 7 days a week, 8 hours a day, then that work that you have is going to fill that time. This may be that you're not going to be as focused while you're working, so it's going to take longer to do, or that you're just going to take a lot of breaks from it, or you're doing other things during that time. Now, if you eliminated the weekend, so now you only have 5 days instead of 7 days to do what you want to do, you can actually generally still get the same amount of work done that you would usually be doing in that 7 days, but then it shrink down to 5 days instead. And because you're giving yourself a tighter schedule to be able to get that work done, you're actually going to be more efficient in your work and you're going to actually accomplish more than constantly having things pushed off and off because you're utilizing all of that weekend time, or at least you think you are. Now, obviously, if you are working in grad school, you may be working on research where you need to work on the weekends. For example, in my graduate work, I worked in mass spectrometry, and there would be weeks where the mass spectrometer was booked. Like, I couldn't get into work on anything, so I would then go on the weekends, or sometimes I would just really want to work in a quiet lab, and I could generally find that on the weekends if I went in to do my work then and had the instrument to myself. Whenever I would do that to work on the weekends, I would actually reclaim that time within my week. So maybe one day I didn't work or I didn't go to school or work that day, but then I recouped that time up on the weekends. If you're doing that weekend work on top of a full week's work, then it can start to cause some of these negative effects in your life. The third biggest thing about working on weekends is that you're going to miss out on your life. So you are more than a graduate student, you're more than a scientist, and you're more than your research or your studies. You should have hobbies. You should have other things you're interested in and other things you want to do. You then need to have time that you can dedicate to these things, whether this is just watching shows or chilling, taking a bath, starting a business, doing whatever it is, hobbies that you want to do. You should be able to dedicate that time. A lot of times it's really good to have 1 or 2 days on the weekends that you can dedicate to the other parts of your life. So overall, if you are currently working a full week plus weekends, I want you to consider tampering that back and start by, at least if you're working both weekend days, stop working one of those weekend days. If you're only working one weekend day, see if you can manage to pull that back and accomplish all of that work within the week. Set that time boundary and then accomplish that work during that time boundary. What you're going to find is you're probably going to feel less burnt out. You might even become more excited about your research. Like, whenever I stopped working weekends, on Monday, I was so excited to get back at it because I really did love my research. But when you're working on it all the time, you can just lose that creativity and that excitement about your research. So pull it back and try to work a normal job, basically, in your graduate studies. And comment below if you do this, and if you see any benefits from it. And if you're struggling in your research and that's why you're pushing your work into your weekend, don't forget to download the 30-day research jumpstart guide that I have down below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.